The mysterious challenge. Commander Mark Davis stood on the edge of a vast alien desert. The sun, if that's what you could call the glowing red orb above, blazed down on him, heating the rocky ground beneath his boots. His space suit was advanced, made for survival in harsh environments, but even with that, he could feel the intensity of the alien planet's atmosphere. This planet was supposed to be barren, lifeless, just another rock floating in the depths of space. Yet here he was, standing before something no human had ever seen, a hidden alien city. Mark had been on a routine reconnaissance mission. His orders were simple: scout the region, gather data, and report back to the Earth Federation. But nothing had gone according to plan. His equipment malfunctioned, communication with his ship was lost, and then he stumbled upon this city, carved into the towering cliffs of the desert. It was beautiful in its own way, a mix of ancient and futuristic design. The buildings were tall, elegant, and almost appeared to be grown rather than built. Strange glowing symbols lined the walls, and the air buzzed with an energy he couldn't understand. As he moved closer, he was met by the inhabitants, tall, graceful alien beings with smooth teal-colored skin. They moved in silence, their eyes cold and curious. Mark had encountered many alien species before, but these creatures were unlike anything he had ever seen. They seemed almost too perfect, as if they were designed rather than born. He felt small in their presence, but his training kept him calm and focused. Suddenly, the crowd parted, and a figure emerged from the shadows. She was taller than the others, with an aura of authority that commanded attention. Her features were sharp and beautiful, her eyes glowing with a soft, pale light. She wore a flowing robe made of a material that shimmered like water in the light. This was clearly someone important, a leader among these people. Mark straightened up, preparing himself for whatever was to come. He had no idea what their intentions were. Would they attack? Would they communicate? He hoped for the latter, though the uneasy feeling in his gut told him to be cautious. The tall figure stepped forward, her eyes locked on Mark. When she spoke, her voice was melodic, almost hypnotic, but there was a sharp edge to it. "Human," she said, her gaze never wavering. "You have wandered into our sacred land. We do not take kindly to intruders, but I am curious about your kind. You are different from the others we have seen." Mark swallowed hard, trying to remain composed. He wasn't sure if she was threatening him or merely testing him. "I come in peace," he said, keeping his voice steady. "I'm from Earth. My people are explorers, not conquerors." The alien woman tilted her head slightly, as if considering his words. "Explorers," she repeated, her lips curling into a small smile. "Perhaps. But we have seen many who claim to explore, but only seek to take what is not theirs." Mark could feel the tension in the air. He knew he needed to say something to diffuse it. But before he could speak again, the woman raised her hand, silencing him. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice strong and commanding. "I am the guardian of this land. If you wish to remain, you must prove yourself." Mark frowned, confused. "Prove myself? What do you mean?" Lyra took a step closer, her eyes narrowing. "You humans speak of strength, of courage, of honor, but words are easy. Here, we value action. If you are truly worthy, then you will accept my challenge." Mark's heart raced. He wasn't sure what this challenge would involve, but he knew he couldn't refuse. If he did, he would likely never leave this place alive. "What kind of challenge?" he asked cautiously. Lyra smiled, a dangerous glint in her eyes. "A test of your body, your mind, and your heart. 3 trials. If you succeed, you may leave our city with your life. Fail, and you will never leave at all." Mark felt the weight of her words sink in. This was no ordinary test. It was a life-or-death situation. He had no choice but to accept. He needed to survive and report back to his people. But more than that, a part of him was curious. Curious about these beings, curious about their world, and curious about what Lyra had in store for him. Taking a deep breath, Mark nodded. "I accept your challenge," he said firmly. "Depended on it." Lyra's smile grew wider. "Good," she said. "We shall begin at dawn. Prepare yourself, human. The trials will not be easy." With that, she turned and walked away, her robes flowing behind her like liquid silk. The crowd of aliens began to disperse, leaving Mark alone in the eerie silence of the alien city. He glanced around, taking in his surroundings once more. This place was strange and dangerous, but something about it pulled him in. He couldn't help but wonder, what exactly had he gotten himself into? As the alien sun began to set, casting long shadows over the city, Mark knew one thing for certain. Whatever trials awaited him, he would have to face them head-on. His life, and perhaps the fate of humanity's relationship with this alien species. The first trial. The alien dawn broke over the horizon, casting a soft, ethereal light across the city. Mark stood outside the chamber where he had been housed for the night, mentally preparing himself for whatever lay ahead. He barely slept, his mind racing with possibilities. The strange, ancient-looking symbols that lined the walls seemed to glow even brighter as the first rays of light touched them. He was surrounded by mystery, and soon he would face his first trial. As he took in his surroundings, Lyra approached him, her presence commanding as ever. Her expression was calm but firm, and her eyes held the same piercing intensity from the day before. She looked at him for a moment, as if assessing his readiness. "It is time," she said simply. Mark nodded, following her as she led him through the city. The streets were quiet, though he could feel the eyes of the alien inhabitants on him. The strange architecture loomed overhead, giving the entire place an otherworldly feel, yet it was not entirely hostile. It was as if the city itself was waiting, just like him, for what was to come next. They arrived at a massive open arena carved into the red rock. The space was enormous, with towering cliffs surrounding it on all sides. At the far end, strange pillars rose from the ground, covered in more glowing symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the energy in the air. Mark could feel his heart beating faster as he realized this was where the trial would take place. Lyra gestured toward the center of the arena. "Your first trial will test your body. We believe in physical prowess, in pushing beyond the limits of what one thinks is possible. You must face the guardian beast." Mark's brow furrowed. Guardian beast. Lyra didn't respond immediately. Instead, she raised her hand, and a loud rumbling echoed throughout the arena. The ground beneath them began to shake, and Mark instinctively braced himself. From the shadows of the cliffs, a massive creature emerged. It was unlike anything Mark had ever seen before. An amalgamation of claws, scales, and glowing eyes. The beast was at least 3 times his size, and its low growl sent a shiver down his spine. The guardian beast's claws scraped against the rocky ground as it moved closer, its glowing eyes locked onto Mark. It was clear that this creature was bred for combat, and it had likely faced many challengers before him. The question was, how many had survived? Lyra's voice cut through the tension. "Defeat the guardian beast, and you will have proven your strength. Fail, and this arena will become your grave." Mark clenched his fists. He had faced danger before, but nothing quite like this. His training kicked in, and he quickly assessed his surroundings. There were no weapons, no cover, no obvious advantage he could use. It was just him and the beast. The creature let out a deafening roar and charged toward him. Mark dove to the side just in time, narrowly avoiding the swipe of its massive claws. His mind raced as he tried to formulate a plan. He couldn't take the creature head-on. It was too strong, too fast. He needed to outsmart it. As the beast turned and lunged at him again, Mark rolled across the ground, grabbing a loose rock and hurling it at the creature's head. The rock hit the beast's face with a loud thud, momentarily disorienting it. Mark knew this was his chance. He quickly climbed to his feet and ran toward the nearest pillar, the glowing symbols guiding his path. He could hear the creature recovering behind him, its heavy footsteps echoing in the arena. With a burst of speed, he reached the pillar and began to climb. The stone was smooth, but the glowing symbols gave him just enough grip to pull himself up. The guardian beast roared in frustration as it clawed at the base of the pillar, unable to reach him. Mark took a moment to catch his breath, scanning the arena for anything he could use to his advantage. That's when he noticed it. A series of similar pillars scattered throughout the arena, each one leading to a higher platform. An idea formed in his mind. If he could lure the beast into a trap, he might stand a chance. He leaped from the pillar to the next, moving swiftly and carefully. The beast, relentless in its pursuit, followed him, its massive claws scraping against the stone as it tried to climb after him. Mark reached the highest platform, his heart pounding in his chest. From here, he had a clear view of the entire arena. He watched as the creature struggled to follow him, its movements clumsy and desperate. With a deep breath, Mark positioned himself at the edge of the platform, waiting for the right moment. As the beast lunged toward him, he jumped to the side, and the creature's momentum carried it forward, right off the edge of the platform. The beast let out a startled roar as it tumbled through the air, crashing into the ground below with a thunderous impact. Dust and debris filled the arena, and for a moment, everything was silent. Mark slowly climbed down from the platform, cautiously approaching the fallen creature. The guardian beast lay motionless, its glowing eyes dimming as it took its final breath. Lyra stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "You have passed the first trial," she said. "Your strength is proven." Mark exhaled in relief, but he knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge had just begun. The test of wit. The arena's dust still clung to Mark's skin, his breath finally steadying after his battle with the guardian beast. He had proven his strength, but as he stood under the alien sun, he knew that his physical abilities wouldn't be enough to pass all the trials. Lyra approached him again, her calm demeanor unchanged by the spectacle she had just witnessed. "Strength alone is not enough," she said, her voice carrying a note of seriousness. "Our people value intelligence just as much. Your next trial will be of the mind." Mark raised an eyebrow, feeling a twinge of uncertainty. He wasn't a genius by any means, but he had always been quick to adapt to new situations. Hopefully, that would be enough. "Follow me," Lyra instructed. They walked through narrow, twisting pathways that led them away from the arena and deeper into the heart of the alien city. The buildings here were older, their architecture intricate and mysterious, with carvings etched into every surface. Mark couldn't help but be fascinated by the alien craftsmanship. Whatever trial awaited him here, it would likely be just as complex. They arrived at a large, dome-shaped structure with no obvious entrance. The walls were covered in the same glowing symbols he had seen before, but these seemed to shift and change, rearranging themselves in mesmerizing patterns. Lyra stopped in front of the dome and turned to Mark. "This is the puzzle of ages," she explained. "It was designed by our ancestors to test the mental fortitude of those who would lead our people. You must solve the puzzle to gain entry. Once inside, another challenge awaits you." Mark studied the dome, trying to make sense of the swirling symbols. His mind worked quickly, searching for patterns, connections, anything that might give him a clue. He had always been good at puzzles, but this was unlike anything he had ever seen. He reached out, tracing the symbols with his fingers. The moment his skin made contact, the symbols shifted again, reacting to his touch. He took a deep breath, realizing that the puzzle wasn't just a static challenge. It was alive, constantly changing, and adapting to him. Mark began to focus on one section of the wall, isolating the movements of the symbols in that area. Slowly but surely, he started to decipher their logic. The symbols seemed to represent different aspects of nature: wind, water, fire, and earth, all interlocking in an intricate dance. He had to align them in a specific order to unlock the door. The minutes ticked by as Mark carefully rearranged the symbols. Sweat dripped down his brow, not from exertion, but from the intense concentration required to solve the puzzle. Every wrong move caused the entire sequence to reset, forcing him to start over again. Lyra stood silently behind him, watching his progress but offering no hints or guidance. This was his trial, and he had to succeed or fail on his own. After what felt like hours, Mark finally aligned the last set of symbols. The entire dome shuddered, and with a low hum, the wall in front of him slowly opened, revealing a dimly lit passageway leading inside. Mark allowed himself a small smile of victory as he stepped forward, but he knew this was just the beginning of the second trial. Inside, the passage led to a large chamber, its walls lined with more of the alien carvings. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it sat a glowing cube. Mark approached cautiously, unsure of what to expect. As he reached the pedestal, a voice echoed through the chamber, not Lyra's voice, but something older, more ancient. It spoke in a language he didn't understand, but the meaning somehow resonated in his mind. This was the final part of the trial. He had to unlock the secrets of the cube. The cube was complex, its surface covered in shifting patterns similar to the ones on the dome outside. Mark turned it over in his hands, studying every side. It was warm to the touch, humming with energy. He could feel the power inside it, just waiting to be released. But how? Mark closed his eyes and focused. He wasn't just dealing with technology. This was something more, something almost alive. He needed to connect with it on a deeper level. Slowly, he began to rotate the sections of the cube, each movement causing a small vibration to run through the pedestal. The cube's glow brightened with each correct turn. The minutes felt like hours, but Mark didn't stop. He knew he was close. With one final twist, the cube clicked into place, and a bright light filled the chamber. When the light faded, the cube had transformed into a small key. Mark picked up the key, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He had passed the second trial. Lyra stepped forward from the shadows, a hint of approval in her eyes. "You have shown intelligence and patience. The mind can be a weapon just as sharp as any blade. But remember, the true test is yet to come." Mark nodded, slipping the key into his pocket. He was 2 trials down, but the hardest challenges still lay ahead. The trial of honor. The dawn of a new day bathed the alien city in soft light. Mark, now rested but mentally fatigued from the previous trial, walked alongside Lyra as she led him to his next challenge. His muscles ached from the fight with the guardian beast, and his mind was still reeling from the complex puzzle he had solved. But as he approached the towering alien structure ahead, a new sense of determination flooded through him. "Where are we going now?" Mark asked, his voice steady despite the slight tremor of anticipation running through him. "To the trial of honor," Lyra replied, her gaze fixed ahead. "This challenge will test your integrity, loyalty, and the strength of your character. It is perhaps the most difficult of all. You may be strong and clever, but without honor, you cannot truly be called a champion." Mark nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He was no stranger to moral dilemmas. His years in the military had taught him that often the right choice wasn't the easiest one. But here, in an alien culture that was so vastly different from his own, he had no idea what would be expected of him. They reached a large courtyard, enclosed by high walls. It was unlike the arenas or chambers he had faced before. This place had a calm, almost serene atmosphere, though Mark could sense the gravity of the trial that awaited him. At the center of the courtyard stood a tall alien figure, adorned in ceremonial robes. Beside the figure was a table with 2 objects placed neatly on top, a gleaming sword and a small, unassuming book. The robed figure turned to face them as they approached, and Mark noticed the alien's eyes glint with intelligence and wisdom. Lyra stepped back, leaving Mark to face the figure alone. "Human," the figure said in a deep, melodic voice, "you have passed the trials of strength and intellect. Now you must prove yourself in the trial that we hold above all others, the trial of honor. It is here where we determine if your heart is worthy." Mark bowed his head slightly in acknowledgement, feeling the weight of the moment. The figure gestured to the sword and the book on the table. Before you are two objects. The sword represents power, victory, and glory. Many would choose it, for it promises control and strength over others. The book, however, represents wisdom, restraint, and understanding. Its path is quieter, but no less powerful. The robed figure stepped forward, raising a hand to silence the crowd. For this final trial, you will face the champion of our people, a warrior who has proven themselves in countless battles. This is not just a test of strength, it is a test of spirit. The outcome will reflect not only your abilities but the bond that can be forged between our species. As the figure spoke, a massive door at the far end of the arena creaked open. A tall alien warrior emerged, their body clad in shimmering armor that glinted in the arena's light. The warrior had an air of confidence, each step echoing with authority. Mark could see the fierce determination in their eyes, a look he had seen many times before in his own reflection. The alien approached him, their stance poised and ready. They held a weapon that was both elegant and deadly, a blade that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. Mark's heart raced as he faced this formidable opponent. "Do you understand what you are facing, human?" the alien warrior asked, their voice deep and resonant. "You have proven yourself in other trials, but this is different. You fight for honor, but you must also fight for your life." Mark nodded, steeling himself for what was to come. He knew he had to rely on everything he had learned thus far, his strength, intelligence, and honor. He also knew that he couldn't let fear control him. This was his moment to shine. The robed figure stepped back, and the arena fell silent. With a sharp gesture, the battle began. The alien warrior lunged forward, their blade cutting through the air with incredible speed. Mark instinctively dodged, feeling the rush of wind as the weapon narrowly missed him. He countered with a swift punch, but the warrior was quick, easily evading his attack. The fight was intense, each movement a dance of skill and strategy. Mark focused on his training, recalling the techniques he had learned in the military. He had to anticipate his opponent's moves, finding the rhythm in their attacks. As the clash continued, Mark realized that brute strength alone wouldn't win this battle. The alien warrior was agile, their reflexes honed from years of combat. Mark had to think strategically. He began to circle his opponent, looking for weaknesses, observing their patterns. In a sudden burst of inspiration, he recalled the lessons from the trial of honor. Honor wasn't just about restraint. It was also about respect for one's opponent. If he treated this fight as more than just a contest of strength, he might find an opening. Mark decided to change his approach. Instead of trying to overpower the warrior, he focused on dodging and parrying, allowing the alien to tire themselves out. Each time the warrior struck, Mark would counter with a quick jab or a defensive block, respecting their skill while conserving his own energy. As the battle wore on, the alien warrior began to show signs of fatigue. Mark seized the moment. He executed a series of quick strikes, pushing the warrior back. The crowd roared in excitement, sensing a shift in the tide of the fight. In a final move, Mark feigned a left jab, drawing the alien warrior's attention. When they committed to a counter, he swiftly pivoted and delivered a decisive blow to the warrior's midsection, causing them to stagger back. The arena erupted in cheers. The alien warrior fell to one knee, breathless but unbroken. Mark stood over them, his chest heaving with exertion. He had won the fight, but as he looked down at his opponent, he felt a sense of camaraderie rather than triumph. This battle had not just been about defeating an enemy, it had been about understanding each other as warriors. The robed figure stepped forward once more, raising a hand to the crowd. "This battle has shown us the strength and honor within you, human. You have proven not just your abilities but your spirit and respect for our culture. You are indeed worthy of our admiration." Lyra's eyes sparkled with pride as she stepped beside him, a smile lighting up her face. "You did it, Mark. You showed them what humanity is capable of." Mark offered a hand to the fallen warrior, who accepted it with a nod of respect. "You fought well," Mark said, genuine admiration in his voice. The alien warriors stood, brushing off the dust from their armor. You have shown honor and strength. I respect you, human. Together, we can forge a new path. With those words, the arena erupted into applause. Mark felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had not only faced the trials set before him, but had also built a bridge between their cultures, one that could lead to mutual respect and understanding. But as he celebrated the moment, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them, hand in hand with Lyra and the newfound allies he had gained through this incredible journey. The unexpected alliance. The cheers of the crowd echoed in Mark's ears as he stood victorious in the arena. The alien warrior he had just fought, whom he now knew as Tarek, stepped forward, their demeanor transformed from fierce opponent to a respectful ally. Mark felt a rush of warmth. It was clear that he had gained Tarek's respect through their battle. "Your skills are impressive, human," Tarek said, nodding appreciatively. "You fight not just with strength, but with wisdom. This is a rare quality among warriors." Mark smiled, feeling a swell of pride. "Thank you, Tarek. It was an honor to fight you. I've learned so much from these trials, and I'm grateful for this experience." As the crowd began to disperse, Lyra joined them, her eyes shining with excitement. "You did it, Mark. You not only proved yourself, but also earned a powerful ally in Tarek. This is incredible." "I hope so," Mark replied, glancing at Tarek. "I think we can work together to build something great between our people." Tarek stepped closer, the glow of the arena's lights reflecting off their armor. "Your victory today was only the beginning. There are greater challenges that lie ahead for both our worlds. It is essential that we unite, not only to strengthen our ties, but to face the dangers that threaten us." Mark furrowed his brow. Curiosity piqued. "Dangers? What do you mean?" Lyra interjected, her expression turning serious. "There are forces in the galaxy that view this alliance as a threat. They seek to undermine it before it can grow." Tarek nodded, their expression solemn. "There are those who fear change. They will do anything to keep us divided. We must prepare ourselves for their interference." Mark's heart raced at the thought of external threats. He had always imagined battles to be fought in isolation, but now he understood the importance of solidarity. "What do we need to do?" he asked, determination in his voice. Tarek gestured toward a nearby structure, a towering building that looked like a fusion of art and technology. "We must convene the council of our leaders. They will need to see the strength of this alliance. If we can unite our peoples, we can stand against any threat together." Lyra's eyes brightened. "That's a great idea, but we'll need to ensure that our message is clear. We want peace and cooperation, not war." As they walked toward the council chamber, Mark felt a sense of purpose filling him. This was more than just a personal journey. He was becoming a part of something larger. He was excited but also anxious about the upcoming discussions with the council. Inside the council chamber, the walls shimmered with ethereal light, reflecting the diverse cultures of the beings present. Mark took a moment to absorb the variety of species before him, each one unique, each one representing a different world. They looked at him with a mix of curiosity and caution. Tarek stepped forward, commanding attention. "Esteemed council members, we gather today not just as individuals of our respective worlds, but as a unified front against the threats that loom over us." Mark joined Tarek, standing shoulder to shoulder with his new ally. The members of the council scrutinized him, their expressions unreadable. "I come to you as a representative of humanity," he began, his voice steady. "I know our cultures are different, but I believe that together we can create a stronger alliance. We have fought side by side, and we can achieve so much more united." A murmur rippled through the council. A being with shimmering blue skin, adorned with intricate markings, spoke up. "But how can we trust a species that we have only just met? What assurance do we have that humanity will not turn against us?" Mark felt the weight of the question. He had faced doubt and skepticism in his life, But this was different. Trust takes time, and I understand your concerns. But I stand here as proof that we can work together. I have fought alongside Tarek, and I am willing to face any challenge that threatens our alliance. Another council member, a towering figure with wings, leaned forward. And what of our enemies? They will not sit idle while we forge this alliance. We must be prepared for an attack. Mark met the figure's gaze, determination in his eyes. Then let us prepare together. We can share our knowledge, our technology, and our strengths. An alliance is built on mutual support, and we can create a defense that no enemy can break. The room fell silent as the council members exchanged glances, weighing his words. Mark held his breath, hoping he had made an impact. Aid in purpose and spirit. Finally, the blue-skinned being nodded slowly. Perhaps we can consider this path. If we are to stand united, we must first ensure our people are on board. This will not be an easy task. Tarek stepped in, his voice resolute. I will return to my people and present this proposal. Together, we can show them the strength we hold as allies. As discussions continued, Mark felt a surge of hope. This was a turning point, a chance to create a future where humans and aliens could coexist and thrive. He knew the journey would be long and filled with challenges, but for the first time, he felt confident that they could overcome anything together. As the meeting concluded, Mark exchanged glances with Lyra and Tarek. They were no longer just representatives of their worlds. They were partners in forging a brighter future. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together, unit shadows of the past. The atmosphere in the council chamber was electric, filled with anticipation as Mark and his allies prepared for the crucial vote on the alliance. Leaders from different species were gathered, each representing their worlds, and the air buzzed with tension. Mark knew that the outcome of this meeting could change everything for both humans and aliens. As the council members took their seats, Lyra leaned over to Mark, her voice barely above a whisper. Are you ready for this? It's a big moment. Mark nodded, though his heart raced. I am, but I can't help feeling anxious. This is so important. And if they say no? They won't, she interrupted, her eyes sparkling with confidence. You've already proven yourself, and Tarek is with you. Together, you can convince them. Tarek, standing tall beside Mark, turned slightly. Our worlds have faced dangers alone for too long. It's time for us to unite, not only for our safety, but for a brighter future. As the discussions began, the council president, a majestic figure with shimmering golden scales, called the meeting to order. We gather here today to discuss a potential alliance with humanity. Our worlds have a history, some of which has been marred by misunderstanding and fear. But the time for division is over. A hush fell over the room, every being leaning in to listen. Mark, as the representative of humanity, you may address the council. Mark stood up, feeling the weight of their gazes upon him. Thank you, President. Esteemed council members, I stand before you not just as a human, but as a warrior who has fought alongside Tarek. I have seen the strength that comes from unity, and I believe that together we can create a future where our species thrive side by side. A council member with sharp features and an air of skepticism raised a hand. What makes you think that humans won't betray us as they have done in the past? Trust must be earned. Mark took a deep breath, recalling the scars of humanity's past mistakes. I understand your concerns. Humanity has made grave errors, but we've also learned. We know that strength lies not in isolation, but in cooperation. This alliance is not just about survival. It's about learning from our past and building something new together. Another council member, this one with translucent skin that revealed a network of bioluminescent veins, interjected. And what of the threats? There are those who would see this alliance fail. How can we protect ourselves? Tarek stepped forward, their voice steady and commanding. We must prepare for battle. Our enemies will not sit idle while we forge this alliance. We can share technology, strategies, and knowledge. Together, we will create defenses that no foe can breach. Mark felt a surge of hope. Exactly. We can establish training programs, combining our skills to develop new tactics that utilize the strengths of both our peoples. We can be a force to be reckoned with. The council members murmured among themselves, considering Mark's words. But then, a shadow fell across the chamber. A figure cloaked in darkness stepped forward. It was a being Mark had not seen before. Tall, slender, with eyes that glinted like shards of ice. "I am Zephyr," the newcomer announced, their voice cold and sharp. "You speak of trust and unity, but what you are proposing is a foolish gamble. There are those who would not only oppose this alliance, but would destroy it before it even begins." The tension in the chamber intensified as all eyes turned to Zephyr. Mark could feel the energy shift, the council members' expressions now filled with doubt. "What do you mean?" Mark asked, struggling to maintain his composure. "Your past is riddled with violence," Zephyr continued, their gaze piercing. "You humans wage wars for power and greed. How can we be sure that this alliance is not just a means for you to expand your influence?" Mark clenched his fists, frustration bubbling within him. "I can't change the past, but I can fight for a better future. I'm here to prove that humanity can change." Zephyr stepped closer, their eyes narrowing. "Then you must be prepared for what lies ahead. Your resolve will be tested, and only then will you earn our trust. If you truly believe in this alliance, be ready to fight for it, because enemies are watching, and they will strike when you least expect it." Mark exchanged worried glances with Lyra and Tarek. He felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. "Then we will prepare. We'll prove ourselves worthy of this alliance." The president of the council raised a hand, attempting to restore order. "We must vote on the alliance. But know this, if we proceed, the burden of this partnership will be on all of us. We must stand united against any threat." As the council members cast their votes, Mark's heart raced. He knew that the future of their alliance depended on this moment. Would they accept humanity as allies, or would they reject them based on the shadows of the past? Finally, the president spoke, breaking the silence that had enveloped the chamber. "The results are in. The council has voted, and the motion for an alliance with humanity has passed." Cheers erupted in the chamber, but Mark felt a mix of relief and apprehension. They had taken the first step, but the shadows of doubt and threats loomed over them. The true battle was just beginning, and they had to be ready. As Mark, Tarek, and Lyra stood together, a sense of determination filled the air. They would prepare for whatever came next, standing united against the darkness that threatened to tear them apart. The alliance was forged, but their resolve would be tested, and only together could they face the challenges that lay ahead.